Hey, folks, that's right. I'm back. This is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore. I'm back on the corner. Took a few days off. No, I took a few weeks off. It matters not. I'm back. Season's over. The 2023 NFL season is in the book. Las Vegas did a great job with hosting the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty sure that small 65,000 seat stadium will command more money the next time it's there. But matters not. The the new NFL season starts March 18th. I want to say March 18th is the new season, but that's not why we're here tonight. I got a good friend, and last time, he's a prolific author. Last time this Morehouse man was on, he was talking about all of his the great conversations that he had in his interviews. This time he's got a new book out, and the thing about it, while we were sitting together, in fact, he was editing the final pieces of it while we were in Vegas. So without further ado, I'm going to bring this young man on, Pat Freeman, and let's see, where are we? There we go. Pat, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm not complaining, man. Everything's going great, man.
Have you recovered?
That depends on what we're talking about. I'm recovering. hey, look, we have to be real careful about certain questions and the way they are directed. I'm not an attorney in Atlanta, so I'm not gonna get into that little situation. I'm not in, so I'm gonna keep it like, yeah, I recovered, came back in and hit the ground running, so got a lot of other things going, man. But you know what? It was good. Vegas was great. I know I had a great time. How about you, man? How was Vegas with you?
I thought Vegas did an excellent job. The synergy of being next to the Strip and how it was laid out. Once you figured out the landscape, I think Vegas has definitely hit the mark, and we'll see some more Super Bowls there in the not too near distant future.
The unique thing about it, and we're going to get into the evolution of Vegas Super Bowl NFL, because the thing about it, the fact that the gambling aspect of it, you are in the place of gambling, sports books, everything else, everything is there. The NFL has embraced gambling, even though they can't, the players can't, everybody else around them can, and they have just signed off in their first with the birth of their firstborn now. And I mean, they won't be able to do without it. I think they just finally realized, hey, if we can't fight them, we might as well join them. And the NFL has joined them lock, stock, and barrel, hooks, everything else. So they're in bed with the sports books and everything else. There's nothing else can be said now, is it, Pat?
No, they are hook, line, and sinker. The NFL is heavily involved into sports books, FanDuel, DraftKings, major players all over Radio Row. I think the day has arrived that gambling is just a major part over the table. But we always knew about the under the table
absolutely
gambling, but the NFL was not getting their cut of that, and they knew when they figured out how much money was being bet on these games under the table, they knew they needed to bring gambling over the table and make it part of their income revenue streams, and they've done that hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, because here's the unique thing about it. Why was the urgency and the determination to make sure that the injury report, whatever went out, had to be accurate? And they were jumping on teams if they were not properly reporting which players would be available, would not be available, and all the other sundry things that goes on with the NFL. Because the darn show wasn't for any fan, for fantasy football. I mean, even though there's money tied into it, I think it addressed the elephant in the room, which was the gambling aspect of the amount of money that is being wagered on professional football.
No question about it. Football is a major gambling sport. It has limited games. The injuries play a huge role in the criteria for what wagers are made. And as you said so eloquently before, the NFL has really got on teams about their reporting of injuries, and they have to follow the criteria or they will be fined. It's just that simple.
Let's talk about the book, man, because obviously maximizing the big game. The irony, I'm gonna let folks in on a little something. I was sitting next to you in the media workroom, and I think you were still just, finally putting the fine tune, dotting I's, crossing T's, doing the final editorial control. I'm sitting next to you, and I'm going and you were just like hard at it. I mean, you were multitasking, but man, I'm sitting there going, "What are you up to?" "Oh, I'm working on this book." "We at the Super Bowl, Pat." "Yeah, I know. I'm at my own Super Bowl." So that was the way you. Why the book? Why write the book, Pat? What was the reason? Why did you want to write this book? What were you trying? What are you trying to get across, and what do you want folks to understand about this?
Well, I met a person last year at the Super Bowl in Phoenix, and she just woke me up to, hey, you've got to do some things, and I need you to get this done. And if I want you to get this done now, we're going to do it. And that person was Miss Vicki Jones of VMH Publishing, who I think is probably one of the best people in media that you're ever going to find. She just did an exclusive special edition of the 32 nominees for the Walter Payton Award that was just released in the last couple of days. And everybody is marveling on her professional work. And she is a true blue professional. And she pushed me to the hilt. When you saw me, she said, I probably was on the phone with her in just a few minutes before you came. And she told me, I need 4 chapters from you right now. So I had to do what I had to do. And she pushed me to the hilt. And she is a great, great professional. And I owe a lot to her in getting this book together, getting it out. It was released on February 11th. As you know, that was Championship Sunday. So it was released on the big game day. That's all her. I thank her tremendously. And then up on Radio Row, Miss Saeed Ali was handling my media responsibility up there. She set me up with some pretty big interviews with Tony Bruno, Maureen Schneider, on some very big media outlets. And I want to thank her also for her professional work that she did Super Bowl week and making sure that my presence was felt on Radio Row with some very good interviews up there that week too. So Vicki Jones, Saeed Ali, thank you so much. They are two true blue professionals that I owe a lot to in where I am right now. And as of last week on Amazon, the book was ranked number 36 among sports journalist books, and hopefully we continue to move up the ladder.
And all right, now quickly, how long is the Amazon's book list? I mean, is it segregated
Top 100.
in the
Yes,
top 100?
top 100.
And so you debuted at 36.
No, I debuted at number 100 the week before.
Oh,
and I moved up to 36 last week. Hopefully, I move up again.
Hey, well, hopefully we'll sell some books, because the unique thing about it, because like I said, obviously folks can sit there and actually just take their phones, and you got the QR code right here to the, they can just bring up the QR code is right here. We're automatically selling as they talk. All they got to do is take their phones and take the QR code. The basic overall, what are you trying to get folks? What are you trying to get? Why are you driving folks to this book, and why do you want them to have the book?
Well, there's so much that we see that others don't. But one of the things that we experience too is learning how to navigate the Super Bowl. You've covered many, many Super Bowls, but if you could always remember that first one, that when you got there, it's like, what's what's up? What's going on?
Yeah.
And with me, I had absolutely nobody. I did not meet people like yourself and the late Max, who was
Max
just
Edison.
Max Edison, who was a very good person. I didn't meet you until a few years down the line, and it helped me navigate the Super Bowl. That experience, I just wanted to make sure that I shared it with up and coming journalists. And you've got some really good young people that are doing some great work. You've got 3-point conversion. They're doing some great work out of Atlanta. Raphael Haynes, he's doing some great work. Mike Patton, touring the AFC South. And you want to share that information with these up and coming guys so that they did not have to go through what a lot of us old timers did. Because, when you first get there, it can be somewhat devastating. And you've got to learn how to navigate that landscape to the best of your ability and form relationships like we have between each other. We have relationships with each other and different people in journalism and broadcasting all over the country and some all over the world. I have a very good friend at ESPN Brazil. We run into each other every year at the Super Bowl, and he even did a commercial for me in Spanish, and it was really it was a sight to behold. And these are the relationships that I share in the book, also with some of our experiences that we all have had at some of these Super Bowls. If you remember that fight in Minneapolis, those two guys happened to be from Houston that got in a fight on Radio Row. They got banned from Radio Row and Super Bowl week. But those are things that happen from behind the scenes. And you want to share that because people always ask me, Pat, are you going to the Super Bowl? And I always say, no, I'm not going. He's like, what do you mean? You've covered all these Super Bowls. I said, no, you said something. There's a difference in what we do and what other people do.
Right.
And you want to share those experiences with people. When you're credentialed for the Super Bowl, you have access to behind the scenes information that people normally don't get to see. And those are the things that I share in that book. And for up and coming broadcasters, to me, it's a must read.
When you started, when you started laying out your outline for the book, obviously, how many Super Bowls have you? Total, how many Super Bowls have you covered up until this point, up until this most recent one?
I've been credentialed for 25, but I've covered 24.
Okay.
And of the 24, I don't mention every one of them because this would be a very, very long book. This is a easy read book. I probably have to do part 2 to cover more instances, but I laid out some very important aspects of the 24 Super Bowls that I was credentialed for. And that's what they'll hear me say credentialed. And you understand that because
absolutely.
There's a big difference in going to the game or being credentialed to the game, because we do pre-game, post-game, before the game, after the game, Super Bowl week, Super Bowl events. All of those things are all chronicled into what people need to understand is the Super Bowl week for the NFL is the culmination of the year. And
right.
It's the end of the year event for the NFL, marking after the Super Bowl game, which is the final aspect of Super Bowl week. It's the beginning of the new Super Bowl year as they get ready for their Super Bowl. Not the Super Bowl, but their beginning of their next year fiscal season. And that's where they are now with the combine. You're going to have the salary cap and those things. By the middle of March, it's going to be full speed free agency, and you're going to be seeing where teams are, what direction they're going into leading up to the draft.
Yeah, I was telling some. I think I remarked, and I don't know if I made this remark to you, but I told some. As soon as the Texans season was over, I said it's history. That's it. And I like the way DeMeco Ryans has referred to it. He said it's over with. As soon as they walked off the field in Baltimore, that was it.
Yes.
When they wash their uniforms, that's it. That's history. I mean, and I know what's going to happen when preseason camp come up. I know what's going to happen when when all the other things, when they bring the rookies in, and all of a sudden, all the required training. I know, and that's going to be a ton of questions about last year. Guess what? Last year's done because as it stands right now, the Texans have 30 free agents, of guys that they're not going to sign all 30 of them back, and I wouldn't recommend them, but I have some guys on that list I hope they do bring back. I hope they're able to bring back, but there's some guys out there on the open market now, even though they quote unquote not supposed to be talking to them, but you and I know what's going on.
Right. Agents are talking on behalf of their clients, and they're putting their feelers out. And people need to realize 35 to 40% of teams change each and every year. You're not going to recognize, you might not recognize the Texans coming out of the end of training camp to the end of the season. There's so many injuries. You might have 90 players in for some stint at one point because the league is so volatile as far as physicality. So it's a lot to those things. And in the book, we try to share some of those experiences, especially that big, people wonder why we're there for the whole week, because there's different aspects that are going on as far as the NFL, as far as press conferences, end of the year stories. You're hearing different things from different people about different franchises. And there's some very interesting aspects of preparing for a big game. And you're starting to see that not only with professional football, but almost every sport now is having the NBA is probably the only one that does the midseason all-star game, but it's modeled after what they've done with professional football. And the NCAAs, as you well know, is just as big as professional football, ladies and men's. Final Four. It's just as big.
Yeah. When you were laying out your experiences, how did you choose, Pat? Because you mentioned you've been credentialed, you had 25, credentialed 24, and obviously you didn't write about everything, but how did you go about selecting what you wanted to talk about? What things stood out that make you think this needed to be in the book now, this one didn't be in the book, or whatever? Because you had a smorgasbord of things that you could have reached in there, and I think in anybody that that's obviously what I noticed in the line of work where we are being credentialed and seeing what's behind the scene. I mean, this almost had to be somewhat of a nightmare to try to sift it down to your top 5, top 6, top 7.
Well, that's where the magic of VMH Publishing and Miss Vicki Jones came in. She knew how to streamline. This man's got 24 years of experiences, and I'm going to try to pull the best of those 24 years out of him in this particular book. And anybody that wants to put their creativity of their experiences in writing, I would advise you to go to VMH Publishing, because she did that. And what we go through, there's just so much. Yeah. How do you streamline it into one particular writing? And I owe all of that to VMH Publishing and Miss Vicki Jones. And she is a tremendous, she's going to get the best out of you now. I mean, if you're not willing to do it, she ain't fooling with you. So I had to, one night I didn't leave the media workroom to almost midnight. You saw where I was. I'm at the same place.
I left you there. I walked through. I think I said something to you, and you sort of went like, you acknowledged me. I think I got a cursory acknowledgement from you, and I was out catching the tram, heading back over to my place, and I think Did George have to come back and pick you up, or we just hit the roads, hit the streets?
Yeah, George, after I saw you, George had to come back and pick me up, and I appreciate the Rad Man. That's my guy. We've covered and traveled together, I think now 16, he's covered 16 Super Bowls, and I'm at 24, and we've been together for every one that he's done.
Right.
And he had to come back and pick me up because I told him I'm going to be right here. And I was there literally the whole week. I took a couple of breaks. Miss Saida had me set up with some interviews, and I'm appreciative of her professionalism. And she is a very, very good person who I think is going to be an up-and-coming person in the media world. And if you need somebody they'll help you get the word out on what you're doing, Miss Saeed Ali is one of those people. You look at my TikTok page, I have over 65,000 views on the book itself. And most of that is due from her hard work and dedication. And she's new in the field, but I think she's going to be one of the great ones like some of the others that are out there today.
That's the voice of Pat Freeman, folks. He's the author of the book recently out, Maximizing the Big Game, and talking about his 20 plus years of experience. And he has chronicled it down to some unique experiences. Pat, let's talk about the networking and the relationships that you build. You mentioned the fact that you had and you met somebody that did an advertisement for you in Spanish. The unique thing about it, I met a young man from Germany who has just been covering the NFL since 2015. We hooked up. I mean, we exchanged information, start following one another. And so I told him I'm going to be looking to get with him with the season coming up, because that's going to be a couple of games that will be in Germany, because the NFL,
right,
like the NBA, is trying to become a global marketing behemoth, even though they have a tall task, and even though there was almost close to over 500 some thousand visitors in Las Vegas. This was record number of folks that watched the Super Bowl 58. They still have a way to go before they eclipse the national game, football,
right,
as the way the world looks at it, as opposed to the way we look at it in this country. But like I say, he's been covering it, and so I'm looking forward to touching bases with him as the season gets started. But let's talk about the relationships, the networking and the relationship, how to build it, why do you need to build it, and what are the outcomes, and I mean, what are the pluses and minuses to it?
Well, you make some great relationships. I've met several people. There's some great writers out there. Joining, I'm a member of the Pro Football Writers of America. You meet great people like Jarrett Bell, USA Today.
Absolutely.
Clarence Hill Jr. From the, I think he's with is he with Fort Worth Telegram?
Fort Worth Telegram, yeah.
Yeah. He's a fraternity brother also. And
you can go you can go ahead and bark a little bit.
We all work together, you know that. I mean, after college,
we all part of the Divine Nine, my brother. I understand. I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and acquiesce. That's all right.
Well, it's all good. I mean, and you meet so many people. You learn. One of the great things you saw about Las Vegas was the location of the stadium is essential. It drew on the energy of Las Vegas, and we tried to bring that message to Western New York. Unfortunately, they continue not to listen. You saw where they're putting the new stadium in Western New York, and it's a travesty. They will never, ever host a big game because of that. They situated the stadium in such a way that it does not draw on the positive energy of the region. And we tried to explain it to them. And unfortunately, the new ownership group, I don't know who they were listening to, but they were not listening to us. And they're going to have some trouble with that new facility with the weather changes. But those are things you learn along the way. And then you see the changes in the week of the game. I mean, remember, the commissioner used to give his address on Friday.
Well, yeah.
It was open mic. Whoever got an opportunity, he answered any questions. That's no longer. Everything is scripted. He did his address. It was invitation only, and he did it on Monday. You know, the week has changed tremendously, and every owner used to come in for the commissioner's address. That is no longer. And also on Friday, it marked the end of accessibility to the participating franchises. The head coaches would be there to take a picture with the Lombardi Trophy, and then they would go about their work until Championship Sunday. But the game has changed. The week of the game has changed so much. But the networking part, I think, is the most important. But also the mentoring part, because you meet these younger guys that are coming in, and you want to make sure that their road is easier than yours.
Right.
You want to make sure that they're better than you. And I've seen that especially with the three-point conversion. I mentioned them again. They have really put the work in on putting in a fantastic Super Bowl week product. Also on Stage Plus, that's working with the Radman. They had a beautiful set. Also, they were on national CBS News, and all of that is part of networking. And right next to them was Cam Newton, Troy Vincent's wife. You meet some very, very influential people Super Bowl week, and it's apparent to you as another broadcaster and journalist to make sure that you take advantage of those relationships because it will always come back. And, here I am on your program. We have a relationship that has gone on for a number of years. And I think the weirdest occasion that we had, I don't know if I don't think I put this in the book, but you were the first one among us that spoke I think you interviewed Pete Carroll after that play.
Yes.
Absolutely. In Seattle against the Patriots, and everybody was shaking their heads like, who called this? And I think you zeroed in on Pete Carroll. And, those are great things that ordinary people don't get to see or experience. But you had it on tape, say, hey, I got it on tape. And he took the blame, which most head coaches will do anyway. We all know that Bevel called the play, but if you know the NFL and how it works, the head coach can nix any play.
Right.
And Pete Carroll chose not to do that, and it cost him. He should have been a two-time Super Bowl winner, and he should have matched what the Kansas City Chiefs did this year, and also what the Patriots had done earlier, if he would have done the right thing. And you know what the right thing was, to give Marshawn Lynch the football. Marshawn Lynch got you all the way down the field, and it's second down, and you want to throw the ball. I didn't understand that at all.
Well, here's the thing about it. If you're going to throw the ball, why don't you leave Marshawn Lynch in the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you give the defensive coordinator, why don't you give the New England Patriots something else to think about, especially when beast mode has basically been beast moded. He beast moded the Patriots all the way to the goal line. Then all of a sudden you pull him out. Well, hell, guess what? The play that Belichick had emphasized that a couple of days ago in practice, that was the play that was the go-to play that they jumped the route on. But guess what?
That's what Butler said. He said, hey, that's film study. When I saw what they were doing, I knew what was coming. He jumped the route.
Yeah, because if there's no Marshawn Lynch in the back, who am I worried about in the backfield? Oh, I know Russell's getting ready to throw this football. Guess who's going to jump this route? Well, guess who did jump the route? And Butler. I mean, the rest is history. We're not gonna go back and because we could. Then let's face it. I
Yeah,
know.
that's a show within itself.
Yeah.
But those are
you're
some of the things that I share in the book that normal people don't get to see. I also ran into Tony Dungy. Radman and I took the wrong turn, and we got on the elevator, and Tony Dungy happened to be on the elevator. So you know me, I'm not going to bite my tongue. I said, off the record, Coach, what'd you think of that last play? And you know, Tony Dungy's a pretty religious guy.
yes,
level-headed. He went into expletives about that play. He said that was a horrible call. Horrible. I would not have called that play. And those are things that are in the book, and I hope people appreciate some of the things that we've experienced. And I appreciate you having me on your program to talk about this book.
In the low again, that's Patrick Freeman, folks, author of Maximizing the Big Game. He started off at 100, and within a week's time, he's jumped up to 36 on the Amazon Sports Journalist list. Also, while I'm at it thinking about it, if you have not subscribed to the Ad Max Corner, please look down there, click the box subscribe. I need the subscribers, and if you don't, and I'm over on the Houston Roundball Review subscribers list. Obviously, Chris Gardner has done a magnificent job since with the YouTube channel. They are definitely a far and head above me with subscribers. But you know what? I'm trying to catch him, and hopefully tonight y'all with things of this nature, interviews of the unique interviews that I try to bring the flavor. It's not just about the game. It's not about downs and distance. There's a whole lot of other nuances about the game of football, what we cover. And I think that's what's so unique about your book, Pat, is the fact Maximizing the Big Game, because that the subtleties and the nuances, it's so much stuff that goes on outside of the game. There's something, let's face it, we sat down because I remember a couple of years ago, I was in Buffalo. I came up there for the Texans game. But that, and when if you ever literally sit down, a game in itself, from the time you kick off, coin toss to kick off, we're looking at about 3 hours. But
Yeah,
when you can boil it down, if they can, the NFL has got it down to take the commercials out. They can actually show a whole football game, excluding overtime, within the 60 minutes, of which the NFL Network does now. So actual runtime, game time. Come on, let's face it. But it's all the other nuances, all the other little tidbits that happen, the titillating things that keeps folks. It's almost like the NFL is its own high factory. How it does the fans and keeps the fans engaged. It's just unreal. It's just totally unreal how the NFL has got everybody hooked on an IV. Just can't wait. Can't wait. That's all it is. I got to have my fix on the NFL. And the NFL is like a true junkie. They're peddling it out.
Right. And you know what? I tell you what, people in Houston, you have really hit the jackpot. From the head coach to the quarterback, to your defensive draft, I think the Houston Texans have put together a pretty good formula to rebound off of the damage of what O'Brien did in destroying a pretty good team that they had a few years ago. I don't know what happened with that. I know you do more than I do, but the Texans are back on the right road. And Coach Ryans, I think, is one of the brightest young coaches in the league. And the great John Wooten said so. And he heavily pushed for Ryan to be the next coach of the Houston Texans, and they made the right decision. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And unfortunately, Lovie Smith did not have, when you follow a situation that he followed, I just don't think he was in a situation to be successful. Whereas D'Amico Ryans, he came in with the energy of the management came in with a good scouting department, and they hit the jackpot on some very, very good draft choices. And I think you've got a lot of years of success coming with the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I do too. I think, and obviously we're not, this is not a Houston Texan broadcast. Obviously, we're here to talk about your book. But I think just to add a caveat to that, what's going to be interesting to me, because everybody talks about the progress that players make from year 1 to year 2. I don't expect CJ Stroud to have, if he tries to duplicate, if he doesn't even duplicate, if he comes up to say 70% of what he's done this year, I still think that would be progress as far as the Texans are concerned, because they're going to add other pieces around him.
Right.
All of Texans draft picks contributed. They had to contribute. I mean, let's face it, the NFL, like Jared Glanville said, not for long, because with the injury factor, what happens in the NFL, and just with the toll that it takes on these players' bodies, man. I mean, let's face it, man. All it takes is one play. It's one play. Your career is
changed
like
instantaneously.
Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we'll see if CJ Stroud come back and duplicates this same year. I will be totally astonished. I'm not saying he can't do it, but the thing about it, that was last year. Everybody has tape on you now. Everybody has an idea. Now, the one good thing about it, Bobby Slowick is back as the OC. John, the quarterback coach, is back. I mean, there's some changes on the defensive side, a new defensive line coach, new linebacker coach, But it's going to be interesting what the pieces they are going to put, what they want to put around CJ. And and let's face it, man. I'm gonna tell you something. This kid, and I say this respectfully, I say this respectfully about this young man. This kid has Freon in his veins.
Oh yeah, he's not bothered by any of the situations, and that's one of the great parts of that I included in the book too, is that now that they have instituted NFL honors, you saw the CJ Strouds come in after they were eliminated, and now he gets the recognition for being the top offensive rookie in the league. And you're absolutely right. I am enthused about what I saw in Houston, but most of all, very professional, just a very good situation, I think, the Houston Texans. And you get to see these people Super Bowl week, and I talked a little bit about that. You would be amazed at who you meet on Radio Row. And I did Radio Row 22 years, and people say, well, why aren't you doing it anymore? I said, dude, you saw me, AD. I get there at 7 a.m. I'm leaving at 7 p.m. I'm getting everything I can out of this week, because this is a week, and all of that is maximizing. And that's why, Vicky Jones helped me come up with the title, Maximizing the Big Game. And that's how you come up with books like that and streamline some of the experiences into a book that's going to help and benefit up and coming broadcasters.
What are one or two just skill things that you picked up that you try to impart to the young guys now? Because here's obviously with the advent of all the social media platforms and everything now, guys like us, like I tell folks, I might be an old dog, but I'm an old dog that's willing to learn new tricks.
Right.
So you take the advent of the StreamYard with Twitter, well, X or whatever Elon is calling it now, however much money won it, but everything else that's all the other platforms that has been woven into this. The traditional newspaper, and obviously you started off as a writer at a newspaper, as a journalist, you've been on the deadline writing a column and everything else. Now that with the advent of all the social media, how do you codify all of that and make all of that work now?
Well, Super Bowl week, Monday and Tuesday, light days. Sunday is your setup day.
Right.
You're in touch with the publicists of players, representatives. One year, I don't know if you remember, back in Miami, that I was emailed by the producers and the agents for Top Gun, the sequel.
Right.
And I ended
Maverick.
up interviewing, I think her name was I have to look up the name. What, Glenn Powell and Barbaro. Both of them were stars of the sequel movie. And Radman and myself interviewed the both of them. And at the same time, we had an appointment with Hopkins, who played for the Houston Texans, and his mother.
Right.
And that story was just incredible. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know if people know the story, but his mother, someone threw bleach in her eyes and she is legally blind.
Right.
And so, I'm interviewing them, and out the corner of my eye, I see Glenn Powell coming. So, if you're not ready, they go into the next appointment. So you really have to time yourself on Radio Row. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are your busiest days. It really steps up a notch. Thursday, you're going to see guys running around with those gold jackets. You have your Hall of Famers coming in, but you're going to see stars throughout the week that you would never see in one place. That's why I tell people the media is just an incredible outlet of old-fashioned journalism. It's changed tremendously. You don't see the live radio. Everybody's going uploading to social media.
Mm-hmm.
They're chronicling a lot of their interviews, putting them up as soon as they can. But that's something I learned too. As soon as you get that interview ready to go up, get it up. Don't waste no time. Because after Super Bowl week, you might be able to get an interview, but you're not. That fever and the energy of Super Bowl week is there, and you got to take advantage of that energy also.
What's the impact? What are your takeaways now that you've had a chance to sort of sit back now? And are there some things in the book that you would wanted to put in? Have you sort of sit back and maybe done a postscript? Maybe I should have been. I mean, I'm just sort of curious now. Is there something in the back of your mind you probably wish like, and it didn't happen? Or are this something you're just not going to talk about? You just making mental notes, and that's going to be on the next book?
Well, I'm just making mental notes at this stage, but I left a lot of room for a follow-up, looking at different aspects of a next book. As you know, my first book had nothing to do with sports at all.
Absolutely.
So I do have some books that I would like to get out that are some sensitive subjects to me that I think need to be put out there. But as far as this particular book, Maximizing the Big Game, I'm pretty happy with the content that's in there, because there's so much, as you know, that goes on when you cover and credential for 24 big games. You know that there's some stories that I wish I could have gotten in there, but they're in the back of my mind that I can pretty much put into a part 2 of Maximizing the Big Game. And I think that's going to happen in the not too near distant future, especially if I continue to get the good response that I've received from this book. And if that happens, then you're definitely going to see part 2 hopefully coming out in the not too near distant future.
The voice, the sight, the sounds, Patrick Freeman, the mighty Oba, the author, Maximizing the Big Game. This is Adolphus A.D. Moore, and this is AdMax Corner, also on the Houston Roundball Review channel. And Pat, I seen that and this is the unique thing, we were talking about this platform, you are able to come in on this platform and even add your own platforms to this. So this is again, this. I mean, the
Right.
technology. This is just a quick story. Max and I we always would talk about the one thing that we do very little with our phones now. Because I'm often at, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? I tell folks now, he said, what all do you need to go to a game? My phone.
Yep.
My
You
phone.
don't even need, you can literally cover everything you need to do from your smartphone. You
Yeah.
literally can do that.
Yeah.
At the Super Bowl, that's all I have. Now, it may look like I have a lot, but really, the most important thing to me is my charger and my phone to make sure I got a.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how Max, we should just sit there and just, and I'm sort of remarked to Max, like some of my, quick things, and what we would do post game, and I would tell Max, he mentioned something about, man, I need to know how to edit. I said, dude, it's right there on your phone. It is, yeah. You can edit, cut it up right there, and get it out and do it right there on your phone, and just send it out to the social media. Because I mean, like training camp, when I added the YouTube shorts, when I added just other things. Now I've added Instagram, to my menu of different things, and I'm pretty sure I will be adding some other things as it becomes available. But what's at our disposal now, and let me just ask this question. Obviously, and I want your history, your journalistic history on it. Is it better to be right and be a little late in getting it out, or you rather be wrong and be the first one out? I'm just
It's best to be accurate. I tell that to young people. Whatever you do, don't try to be first, because that's why you see has died 5 times and he's still living. Because somebody wanted to be first. Oh, Eddie has transitioned. Well, Eddie's still living.
Yeah.
And check your facts. Go. Especially with important subjects, it's best to be right than wrong, because people are going to let you know if you're wrong. I've been wrong a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. In this field, it's best to be accurate and right, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, because the one thing that I think you and I cherish most about it and above is our credibility.
Yes.
I mean, what is your credibility worth to you? I mean, we can be bombastic. I mean, I'm not. Some folks might say I'm bombastic anyway. We can, be a little hyperbole, whatever. But the thing about it, I rather and trust me, I'm hoping that X will add some online edit features where, unlike what Facebook, you can go back in and actually edit stuff that you've gone put out there. Yeah, I've actually put stuff out there. I went back and looked at it and went like, who in the devil wrote that?
Right.
But the thing about it, sometimes it just slow down a little bit, and like I say, rather be accurate, and you be second, third, or fourth, as opposed to trying to be out there and being first,
right,
and you dead 100% wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's obviously we would like to have a ton of followers. You and I both know how this game is played now. We want the clicks and everything. But you know what? I'll sacrifice a click or two just to be accurate. That's just the way I am. That's my purview. I'm not. I don't necessarily. I don't have to be that first person out the box. I do. I mean, and like we mentioned about Pete Carroll and the Seahawks and the New England Patriots. I was there. I asked the question. I got it on tape. Well, you know what? Somebody else might not. They might have went there. Pete, whatever. But nobody can. I literally have it there, so I got it for prosperity's sake, and it's backed up on the cloud and everything else.
Right. And that's important, and you share that with young people. It's best to be accurate, because you're literally in post game now. You're literally videotaping, typing, uploading.
Yeah,
and you want to be accurate. You want to make sure you make sure your spelling is correct. You don't want to put something up that makes you look bad, and people are going to notice if you make mistakes. So it's best to be accurate first, rather than trying to beat somebody to get something up.
Let me ask this question as we get ready to wrap up, move to a close. Again, that's the voice and that's the site of Pat Freeman, Patrick Freeman, author of Maximizing the Big Game, the Mighty Over. Little quick caveat, Pat, and I'll come back. You notice that we're not saying so much about the SB, because they done trademarked that. The NFL, like I said, they are like a big behemoth. You get to using that word too often. And so I sort of I've chuckled, and the more I've looked at the title of your book, and we know but it has to be referred to as the big game, because the big game, because those other words, oh no, you aren't allowed to use that word. It's
but
almost
as a credentialed media person, you learn the language.
It's almost like you are waiting for the white smoke to come out of the Vatican if you use the wrong word.
Absolutely.
If you understand where I'm coming from. Final points in closing. It was about a couple of years ago. I interviewed you on the book about all the interviews that you've done, and you had some very unique and a diverse group of folks that you had interviewed in your long and illustrious career. Taking that, what part of that, what did you use out of that you sort of that carried over into this book that made, and how did it different about this book and the final product than what you have in Maximizing the Big Game?
Well, I think the biggest difference is VMH Publishing. VMH Publishing, I can't say enough about Vicki Jones. She knows how to get the best out of you. And my first book, I love the people I worked with, and they did a tremendous job. But let me tell you something. Vicki Jones is the best of the best that I have ever worked with. She will challenge you to give you, she's going to make you produce your best from the beginning to the end. She's going to make you bring out the best of you and produce a work that its first week started at number 100 on Amazon. Its second week, number 36. We're anticipating it being even more this week, and hopefully it does. We give thanks for the opportunity. But the biggest thing you learn during your career is to try to always be prepared, especially working the Super Bowl. As things are, people email us all the time.
Yeah.
I come by at 10 o'clock. You need to do a little research on who you're interviewing. You need to know what to ask and what not to ask, because some of the people you are interviewing, you need to know something about their background. And I try to follow the great Johnny Cochran rule. And the great Johnny Cochran's, his biggest thing was never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. At least do your best ability to know where the vicinity of that answer is. And I think that's the most important thing that you can impart to younger people in media, journalism, broadcasting. It's all rolled into, I think the Radio Row thing is an antiquated thing. I think it's now Media Row, because there's so many media outlets there doing so many different things. But the best thing that you can do as a person in this field is to try to always be accurate and prepared. Accurate and prepared. But get it up as soon as you can, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But be accurate and prepared. And I think if young people understand that, they will learn a lot. And as you said, the reason that we do this work is to create a better road for others that traveled the same road behind us. And if we do that, I think we're accomplishing what we're supposed to.
In closing, let me just, and obviously there's the young journalists, aspiring journalists out here. I wouldn't necessarily, and I'm curious as to what your input, because I don't necessarily think you have to be, go and major in journalism. I think number one, you need to be a well-rounded person. I think you have to be well read. I think you have to be able to read and decipher a lot of different reading material and come across. I mean, some of it's going to be, obviously, I'm not saying you have to have read Tolstoy. I'm not. I mean, and whatever the case might be. But I think you need to have been read. I think you need to be in order to be a well-rounded person. I don't think you have, and I don't think it is required that you need to go major in journalism. I think you just need to be exposed to the world and have an open mind to be able. But you need to have a good filter, and I think you need to understand how to sift through the BS. The BS
Absolutely.
from, I think that's one of the biggest things that probably as we get ready to bring this to a close, that what we folks need to understand. You need to be able to have a good BS meter and understand when you getting BS.
And you can't be a fan.
No.
A journalist is not a fan. A journalist asks the questions that are appropriate after and before certain events. And being a fan, you have to separate yourself from that. You'll see a lot of people make the mistake in bringing fandom into the post game or the pre-game. Your job, you have a job to do, and that is to get the most out of a player, coach, or manager, either after a game, before a season, before the draft. And there's no friendship in that. You have to have a straight and narrow scope, but you need to chart the scope that you want to go before you get into those situations. And I think a lot of people, if they follow that as they go, they'll find themselves to be more successful than others that don't.
Yeah, in closing, Pat, and little addendum to that. Don't try to be these players' friends.
No, not at all. I have one, maybe two instances in 30 years of two players. One wanted to eat, so he came by to eat dinner after the season. And Michael Gaines, one of my good friends, tight end for the Bills, he wanted to go to church. So I found a church that he could go to, and we went to church together. And we're still friends. Brian Scott, still friends.
Mm-hmm.
These are guys I've known almost throughout my career.
Right.
And but I don't try to be friends with any of them. It's a professional relationship. Because
Yes.
at times when you got to ask that question that they ain't going to want to ask.
Exactly.
Why'd you throw that ball? I mean, you dropped that ball, buddy. What happened? I mean, but you got to ask the right questions. Like Stephon Diggs, he didn't come in the post game after that playoff game, and there was a ball that he dropped. I know that ball got caught up in the lights because the rad man and I went down on the field, turned around, look up at the lights, and those old-fashioned lights impaired his vision. And I know that's why he dropped the ball. Fans were saying, how did Diggs drop that ball? You had broadcasters saying, Diggs got to catch that ball. Well, you can't catch what you can't see.
True. And,
so
and if you report,
must find those proper answers. And that's what we did. We also, in that playoff game, everybody was mad at Tyler Bass, wanted to throw him off a plane, wanted to throw him off the roof because he missed that field goal. Well, the reason he missed that field goal, if you look at the winds that day, his balls were pulling to the right. The coach should have made a decision to move the hash mark to the left hash mark, and Tyler Bass ended up kicking the ball from the right hash mark, but in pregame, he was pulling balls to the right. Whose fault is it? It's McDermott's fault, people, not the kicker. That's where in the book, we point out things like that that hopefully can help journalists move into the future and do a better job.
Patrick Freeman, the mighty author, Maximizing the Big Game. Pat, closing remarks, and then I'll let you. Is it? Y'all still got snow on the ground up there?
No, sir. It was 50 degrees here up
Are you
in
kidding?
Buffalo. We're getting ready for, yesterday was 28, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay. All right.
All I know is anything can happen up here. You better be ready. So I hope people buy this book, put it in their collection, help out a starving author who's trying to put his family in a comfortable way. I would appreciate that. But you can go to my website, patrickhfreeman.com. The book is available at Walmart. It's available at Amazon. It's available at Barnes and Nobles. Come on, support, starving authors who are just trying to put a good story out. Like AD, my main man.
I appreciate it. Hey, folks, that's voice Patrick Freeman, author, Maximizing the Big Game. And if you're sitting here looking at it, and if it's played back, and obviously folks might want to come back, you got the QR code. I mean, we already talking about the technology. Take your phone, grab the QR code that's right here on the screen, right here to your right or your left, depending on how you're looking at it, and you can order the book right there. It'll come up to how you need to go order it off of Amazon. Patrick, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the friendship, man, more than anything else.
AD, one of the finest men in the world. You were part of the dynamic duo when I first met you, and always want to mention Max Edison. May he rest in peace. Made his transition a few years ago, but you're two of the finest men I've ever met. You're doing a great work. Houston, let me tell you something. Houston put on a show for the Super Bowl too. Don't get it confused.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. One of the things I'll say this, and obviously gonna go because I kept you longer than what I didn't. But the thing about it, the amount of the delicacies, the food that the media now gets chance to eat, that whole bar was raised at Houston.
Houston,
because
three meals a day.
They brought world renowned chefs in to come
incredible.
Up right, and so that
has
bar
not
was
been
raised.
Has not been matched. I'm sorry. I don't care. I've covered 24 Super Bowls, but what Houston did the last time, as far as taking care of the media, as far as their appetites, was off the chain. Las Vegas, that's an area. I wrote them and told them you need, your hospitality was wonderful, but your menu, no.
Yeah. Houston had Beard Award-winning chefs preparing different dishes. Morning, noon, and night. It literally for the whole period, the whole time period.
They were giving us 3 meals a day. It was just incredible. It was incredible. Impressed. Houston did a great. That was a great Super Bowl. One of my favorites, along with New Orleans and now Las Vegas. So,
Super Bowl 59 will be in New Orleans. We're
yes,
back
sir.
I think the last in New Orleans was when the lights went out.
Yes, sir.
The San Francisco 49ers against the Baltimore Ravens. I remember the lights went out. Colin Kaepernick was the quarterback. Ray Lewis was on at the end of his season, at the end of his vaunted and illustrious career. And the lights went out in New Orleans at the Superdome. We'll never forget it. Never forget it.
Incredible. I will never forget that. And those are some of the great stories that we have to share and tell. But I appreciate you, brother, for having me on. It's been a great pleasure, and I hope you have me back again.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Obviously, we need to do this again. Tell folks, again, get the book. Easy read. I mean, but it's a challenging read, but it's not a challenging read to the standpoint. I think it would expand your horizon. It would expand your the depths of what do you think about as far as appreciating the professional football. I think Pat, you've done an outstanding and a very unique job in presenting this to the public. And it's obvious by the fact that within a week's time you start at 100 and you're up to 36. So obviously there's an appetite for it, and I think you are fulfilling some folks' palate as far as from a professional football standpoint as to what we see and that purview from that lens that we look at it from the different sides as opposed to what the fans look at. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you to go out there and help this young man, help this Morehouse man out.
All right, buddy.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Hey, take care. Tell everybody hello up there in Western New York. Probably look to be. I'll come back up there when there's no snow on the ground, but that might be a while. But
All
anyway,
right. We look forward to having you, brother. You're always welcome.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, Pat. Hey, have a good night, and take care. I appreciate you, man.
Brother. Take care now. Thank you.
All right, we'll do. All right, folks, as we get to close it down on the corner here, again, I appreciate Pat for jumping on and being able to talk about the book, his books, maximizing the big game, the different nuances and the behind the scenes looks and the different Super Bowls that he's covered. I've been there with him on several of them, and there are some very unique and insightful stories and inquiries there. Take advantage of it. And also, if you, as we're getting ready to shut it down, that if you have not subscribed to the Ad Max Corner on the YouTube channel, please do so. If you're over on the Houston Roundball Review channel as well, please subscribe. Subscribe for both of them. If you have not subscribed to either one of them, hey, just go ahead and go to both sides and just subscribe. We need it. I want you to love it. Whether you like it, give us a try. I got a couple more specials I'm working on now that Black History Month is over with. I got working on a couple of special guests that they were tied up all last month, and I'm working on to come back with, some specials now that the season's over with. I'll be coming back with different specials. So, without further ado, this is your man, Adolphus A.D. Moore, signing off. Ciao. I appreciate it, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you that drop us a line. And without further ado, I'm out, folks, and we're getting ready to shut it down.